Since we will be blending colors that mix together, we won't be needing our water today. The two primary colors we will be using first are blue and yellow. I'm going to make green by blending those two onto the paper. I will be brushing just long strokes of color onto the paper. I'm leaving a little space in between lines on the paper because I do want to see some yellow and some blue when I'm finished. I'm adding the yellow on top of the blue and brushing it back and forth just a little bit. You don't want to rub the paper too much or it will start to peel and you might end up painting a hole in your paper. I'm keeping my brush strokes long and I'm lifting it up in between. I'm not actually scrubbing my brush back and forth. I'm staying going in an up and down direction and I'm lifting my brush like I'm petting a cat that I don't know that well. And I don't want to pet too hard or scratch him really fast because he might get upset. I want to paint all the way to the edges and get rid of any little white spots. You can paint a little bit off the paper because we will have a piece of newspaper or a placemat to catch that extra paint. I'm still brushing one way up and down and lifting my brush up in between. Every time I run out of paint, all I need to do is dip my brush back in for more. Don't press harder with your brush. You just need to get more from your tray. I now have some yellow areas, blue areas, and a lot of green. This is exactly what I want, a little bit of all the three colors, the two primaries, and the secondary color it makes, so that my cactus looks very interesting. It's not just one plain green color. I'm going to take my painting to the drying rack, slide it in carefully, and pick up another piece of white paper on the way back to my seat. At this time, you may use your brushes to rinse off the green paint so that we can move on to mixing our next colors. Once your brush has been rinsed in the water and dried on the paper towel, we're going to start painting with red and yellow, two primary colors that create another secondary color. I will start the same way I did with the blue, and I'm going to go with yellow first, going in up and down directions, leaving some space in between because I want to be able to see some yellow and some red. When I add my red onto the yellow, I will start to see orange. Dip back and forth. You don't need to rinse your brush because we are blending all the same color, so it's not a big deal if one of the colors gets into the other one. Every time I run out of paint, I dip it back in for more, and I stay brushing very nicely, lifting my brush up as I paint. We are also going to be using white because red and white makes pink. And if you add white to orange, kind of makes a creamy, peachy color. All good colors for our cactus flowers. So I will be adding a little white into the mixture. But again, don't paint any one color too much all over. We want streaks of all of the different colors so our painted paper looks very interesting. I'm noticing there's not a lot of red, so I'm adding a little more red back into some sections that look a little plain. When I add the white, I do want to blend it just a little so it doesn't just look like big white lines on my paper. Don't blend too much or you will get a hole in your paper or a bunch of little peeled bits. I'm going all the way to the edge just like on the other one, and I'm still being very gentle. Once your second painting is complete, You can put your brush in the water cup, rinse it if you like, and the table captain will be in charge of bringing the cup and all the brushes to the sink and placing it in the sink. Don't dump it, don't wash it, just leave it in the sink. Supply helpers will take the paint trays to the sink, and if you are neither one of those, the first thing you should do is take your papers very carefully and walk them over to the drying rack. We will be reusing these mats, so do not throw them away.